That's it. Okay, now we get to join the magic of automation. Woo! Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So let's talk about it. Okay, so let's talk. Remember that art stuff 1,000 years ago? So here was our initial goal of this entire that lab. Was to scrape the information on all 2,909 pieces of art. And so far, we have 3. So what else do we need to do? Well, we need to run all of those scrape art functions for all of them, and then combine them into one ginormous data frame with all 2,909 rows. You could do this by hand. Should you do this by hand? The answer may surprise you. No. Didn't surprise? Correct. It should not have surprised you. That was called sarcasm. So, okay. Now, given all the tools we have, I want to ask you, where can we get a list of URLs for each of the pieces of art data in our collection? From that data frame that you previously collected, the UOE art link. So here's what we're gonna do, and it's kind of awesome. So we are going to tell R to apply the scrape art info function to each link, each one of those 2,909. And we don't have to copy and paste for shit, because we can do one of 2 things. So we can either write a for loop, and in this case that would be explicitly telling R to visit a link, apply the function, store the result, then visit the next link, apply the function, append the result to the stored result from the previous link, and then visit another link and do it again and 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 again, etc. I'm not gonna repeat and again for another 2,000 and some odd times. But that is a way to do it. It is not the most efficient way, but it gets the job done. The alternative is using the map function, where you map the function to each of the elements in the link and let R take care of the storing and appending of results. So here I'm going to show you how to go with option 2. But as someone who was raised in base R, my instinct tends to be to write really inefficient for loops with multiple layers because it works. It wasn't efficient, but it worked. This is the same thing. But I'm going to cover map here so that you can learn what you should do. All right, so here we're going to pretend that I gave exams and that this isn't a violation of FERPA in any way. To be clear, these exams are fake data. Yeah, so here we have exam 1 and exam 2 for 4 students. So we have 8 pieces of information in a list. So let me show you how mapping works. So we have to find the mean score for each exam. So we're going to use the map function, have the first input be exam scores, and the second input be the verb that we want to apply to everything. And by verb, I mean function. And then we get a mean for exam 1 of 72 and a smidge, and our mean for exam 2 of 68 and a smidge. Now suppose we want those results in a nice numerical double vector. We can use map double, and it will give us a vector with two options, essentially flattening out our list. We can also use map character string, and it will spit out our outputs as a string. It's pretty nice. So there are tons of mapping functions within this genre. You'll also notice that they are consistently named. It's quite nice. So here we've got the basic map, which returns a list. We got map underscore LGL, which returns a logical vector. We've got map integer, map double, map got map df, or map dfr. This returns a data frame by row binding. Map dfc returns a data frame by column binding. And there are a couple others, but these are the basic ones, and they're really helpful. Do I use them in general practice? No. Why? Because I'm a glutton for punishment and I tend to forget that these functions exist. But I'm teaching you so you can avoid my mistakes and make your own. And feel free to share what those mistakes are, because you will make them. It is a guarantee. I just hope that you will make more informed mistakes than I did. So your turn. So I want you to open up the iterate function or R script and follow along and fill in the blanks as we go. Okay, so let's go to each page and scrape some art. So here's our goal. We're going to map the scrape art info function to each element using the UOE art link. And then we're going to return the data frame by row binding. So that's what we're going to do. And here's the basic, here it is. So here we've got map underscore data frame. We're going to apply, essentially applies a verb, a function. So sorry, we are going to map each of the elements of UOE art link and apply them to the scrape art info function, and then combine them into a data frame that's bound by row. What do I mean by bound by row? Is that each iteration gets appended as a new row. So they all have the same headers, but they have a separate row. And this is going to just depend on what kind of what the data look like, how you're iterating through, because I could also see that using binding by columns could work as well. Not in this specific case, but there have been scenarios in which maybe you're scraping a whole column of data. So you just smush it on the end. Great, it's convenient. So yeah. Okay. So here is the result of that. That does not look very pretty because I used just the first piece of info here. So what happened? So because when we applied this function, which you can't see here, we only have one. Also, it's out of space. This is a really hot mess of a slide. So things can go wrong. Because this code is going to take a while to run. Because you're running it 2,909 times. So it's going to take a while. So if you get an HTTP error 429, this error is for too many requests, you may want to slow down your hits by modifying your function. So you can literally slow down your function so that it will add a little bit of random wait each time before hitting the next one. So we can use the run if. So it'll run Wait a minute, sorry. So here, sorry, let me read this. So here we have sleep from a randomly generated number of seconds. So it's generated from a uniform distribution between 0 and 1, and what it does, it essentially pauses so that the internet does not shut you down. You don't have to prove you're not a robot because you quite literally are. This is what a bot is. So yeah, and then you put your rest of your code function there. And so yes, this will take longer, but if you don't get frozen out, it will be less total time. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you all later.